Welcome to another episode of the Spiritual Investor Podcast. This is definitely a portal opening. I know you guys are feeling it. I am feeling it. The opportunities that are coming my way right now are literally blowing my mind. Receiving a text from my team saying, all you see is OMFG, exclamation, exclamation. I'm like, what is this one going to be about? You know, it's been really fun. And, you know, it's interesting because from the outside, it sometimes looks like, okay, well, you know, this just happened all of a sudden. You know, a lot of this is just connecting with you here in this podcast and just showing up once a week, 4 years, and just going, you know what, I just want to share with you and help you, and you help me. These questions that you have, or some of you come into the program, or some of you, like I've just met you, I've been on your podcast. And so this is all just such a beautiful circle of abundance. And for you guys, especially, like I would say that, you know, you here listening to this specifically, what I love most about you is you're so open, and you're way beyond this whole like healing money blocks kind of thing. Instead, you're wanting to learn how to basically bypass all of that. Like, who has time to like deal with all the conditioning? You know, why not just step over it? Why not just bridge the gap? Because to me, that's the accelerated way. And that involves learning how to invest and expand money. Because the reality is, we're just two kinds of people out here. We're either consuming or creating. And so when you are investing and expanding money, at least the way that I teach you, you're going to be creative with it. I mean, I have had a blast the last day and a half. I have been knee deep in choosing new stocks, and I probably have about 25 new stocks that I'm just like so excited about. And, you know, I'm really looking at some stocks pay dividends. Some stocks are here in the US, some stocks are not. You know, there's still room to grow for a lot of the tech stocks. There's some new and up and coming tech stocks that I'm really interested in. You know, some of those are the fun ones, right? Those are the risky ones, like, you know, App Loving, which I almost couldn't get over the name. I was like, who named this company? You know, being able to pick that one up at $57, and now today it's at $380. Like, you don't need a whole lot of those. Which reminds me, you know, I was talking about this the other day, that out of 100 decisions that you're going to make with regards to your money, you really only need to hit it out of the park with about 5. And if you talk to wealthy people, they're going to all tell you the same thing, that the majority of their wealth really comes down to a handful of decisions. And so maybe that helps you in terms of not needing to get it all right. One thing that I would caution, if anything, is that some of those decisions you are making right now. Like, you think that you're waiting and you're going to like someday do something, but the reality is we're creating our world. And you're either creating yourself as an investor and an empowered human who makes strategic money decisions with confidence, or you're waiting, you know. And I can say all this to myself with regards to a lot of things in my life. And I'm always looking at, you know, shining the mirror on what am I waiting on? Because I know waiting is lack energy. You know, we talk about a lot like pulling the energy down, and then how do you pull that down and then utilize that in the 3D? Well, it's when you pull the energy down, it's not necessarily energy of money. It's energy that you then apply to money. But a big block for people is that they're not willing to apply it to money. Like, they want the results of that energy being applied to money because they want money to be effortless and free and all this. But they're not really willing to utilize the energy. An example would be play. So the energy of play, when you're in play, you are not in fear. Just like when you're in certainty, you're not in uncertainty. And so many people are, you know, they feel uncertainty with regards to money decisions. Well, what money decision can you make that is somewhat certain? And, you know, then reflect back on that. Okay, I did that. That was outside of me. That was sort of the new version of me. Or, you know, talk to your partner about it. It's, if you want aligned financial expansion, which I know you do, if you want to actually trust yourself and be in a relationship with money, then you have to start building that block by block. And the way that you build that block by block is to get away from what it means about money. In order to do something, you can't just do it with the entanglement of constantly thinking about, am I going to succeed at this? Am I going to fail? Like, what is this going to end up, money-wise? And what it does is it keeps people waiting. It keeps people on the sidelines. We just saw, with the whole tariff thing, and then, the market dropped, and then the market came back up. I mean, the market's up over 20% just since, 4 weeks ago. And $437 billion of brand new money has gone into the stock market just this year. So if you're out there thinking no one's investing, hopefully that will tell you that that's not true. Sometimes the news can create the illusion that there's a lot of risk and that there's a reason to be fearful. There's never a reason to not expand money. And play is the magic portal to abundance in all areas of your life if you really allow it to be. And, I want to talk about this, one level deeper here as well. It's like, okay, because we talk about these concepts, energy of money, and then, okay, how do you put that into investing? But I think something that is also underpinning a lot of this is that we're each going through our own phase. We're each going through our own expansion into greater consciousness. When I came back from Tasmania, this was a few months ago, I knew that I just needed to be home and just not travel because I'd been traveling so much. I knew I needed to ground in. That's what I considered it, right? I did. And I have new habits, ways of being that are now solidified, and they're a part of my life, and they're a part of my joy, to the point where I don't even think about them anymore. And then what I didn't realize is I started feeling a little bit constrained, and then I started to think, well, what's wrong here? And then I realized that I was being too serious. Like, this chop wood, carry water is great, but I was being just a little bit too serious, because the money actually is going to follow the creativity. It's going to follow the play. The money is also going to follow energetic consistency. But what happens is, at least this was with me, and it's probably because I'm an emotional authority, and so I'm constantly swinging. I'm like, a monkey in the trees. And so I go into this like, chop wood, carry water. I'm meditating, I'm sleeping, 7-8 hours a night. I'm drinking tons of water, I'm working out, and I love that. But then it's like, I wake up one day and I go, oh, wait, I need to be out in the world. Like, blink, blink. I need to be out, in the bright lights again. And what I've noticed for myself is that I have a tendency to kind of categorize this in an either or, like I have to be one way or the other, when in reality, like, there is a blend of the two. And I would say that's probably the discovery point, because here's another thing about play, is that there's a level of letting go in play that is so subtle. It's like we don't even realize we're letting go. Like, imagine if you did that with your investing account. And that's the way I deal with my money. But then when it comes to like something else in my life, like relationships or something, I might get too serious. I know for myself, and you've probably heard me talk about this, when I invest, I'm having a great time. I will spend thousands of dollars just at a coffee shop, just in investing. And I don't know, I'm not trying to write tickets on myself, but I end up with pretty good stocks, I always have. It's always been that way. But there's also this other element of play, and it's vulnerability. And vulnerability it's like a gate opening to the part of you that you don't want anyone to see, and then you bring out anyways. You're like dragging that person out of the closet, and then you realize, wait, it's like a hollow person. It's like, there's nothing wrong here. There's nothing to be like upset about at all. I wanted to take a minute here to talk to you about the Spiritual Investor, by far the most robust A to Z money program there is out there. You're going to learn how to increase your income, You're going to learn how to make empowered strategic decisions with your money, and you're going to learn how to expand your money through investing, which buys you freedom so that you can go out there in the world and do more. The goal is that you won't even think about money, that you'll get to a point where the things that you desire and want in your life will automatically be covered by the money that you have effortlessly coming in. Now, all of this is based on my life. It is based on what I have seen actually works out there, but what I do is I put it together in a way that is based on real time right now. How do you read between the lines of the economy? How do you bring your intuition into investing? And how do you actually capitalize on what the opportunities are out there for you right now? Now, I have a background in finance. I worked on a trading floor for over a decade. I also created a real estate business that brought me in over $1 million and is still making money for me. I created a business that helped rescue horses, so taking horses off the track and retraining them. And I created the Spiritual Investor 7 years ago, actually. So I have been able to help thousands of people with their money. And this business, actually, what it does is it helps me fulfill my mission, which is to put more wealth in the hands of those who are conscious, because I believe that that's my part in helping to change the world. So you can get started with all of this for $17. And it does not matter if you are just getting started with investing, if you're just getting started with money, if you're in fear and scarcity, all of that, or it doesn't matter if you have millions of dollars. The Spiritual Investor, we have specifically designed the product suite so that we can meet you exactly where you are. So go to thespiritualinvestor.com and I will meet you there. So I'm bringing this up because we're going through an astrological time that I guess we haven't been here in 30 years. What is it? The Saturn in Aries. And I don't know that much about astrology. I have some really amazing people coming on the podcast coming up for you guys. You're going to love, you're going to absolutely love, you're going to blow your mind with this astrology stuff. But I have to stick to the investing to a certain degree, but I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it with regards to the opportunities and the excitement that's going on. I mean, I'm getting ready to go to New York and I'm just watching myself. I'm just observing myself constantly as the new version. And the new version is much more in service even than she's ever been, because the new version doesn't need as much, at least from the world, which means the new version has benefited quite a bit from the chop wood, carry water. And so whatever phase that you are in, because I know that some people are in a phase where they're just like, they can't get their arms around it. They're just, completely, it's very intense, right? We can't see when we're in the phase that there's no wrong or right. But isn't it interesting that when we get out of the phase, it's like that's the first thing we do is go, oh, wait, that was perfect. That's exactly what needed to happen. In fact, if that hadn't happened that way, then this wouldn't have happened this way. Which goes to show that the difference between being in the matrix and not being in the matrix, and really the thing that takes everything away from you, is the concept of time. Because when we're in play, what is it? There is no time, right? When we're in play, it's full flow, it's creativity. When we bring our money and we invite our money into that space, there are no money problems. Because if you're just playing with money, then to a certain degree, do you have to do anything with it? Like, does it have to perform a certain way? And what if it did do something or it didn't do something? Like, aren't you kind of okay either way? I mean, I don't know. I guess if we had this ability to experiment, and we really do, it's just we don't give ourselves permission, I have put a lot of these phases into a 5-part series that I call the SI method, whereby it's one of those things where wherever you enter it's a circle. And so wherever you enter, whether you're in money neutrality or whether you're going through what I call breaking of the structure, which would be you are looking at your old self and then you are choosing to step beyond it and move into your new self. Or if you're in the clarity phase, that's one of them, where in the clarity phase actually is where you gain a lot of momentum. That's almost like, I would say that's the phase where you get to, it's easy. It's kind of like low-hanging fruit. Like, it's very easy for you to gain a lot of traction when you're in the clarity phase. And what I find with money is that I just continue to go through these different phases all the time, Like, for example, when I bought the last rental property, I had to go through the clarity phase because I had to go, okay, well, I need to get clear on what money is where and how am I moving that money around. So that was the first thing. I had to go through the investing phase because I had to go, okay, well, what is the return going to be on this? I'm putting this giant down payment down, which was cash. What is the return going to be? And then also, what will I expect to get from rents after I pay the property manager? It's the first time I ever hired a property manager. And I also had to go through the energetics of it and opening up a new wealth channel. So all of the things are happening at the same time. And even when I got into the process, I remember the loan person was so hard to deal with. And she was just, I don't know, she was just pretty rude some of the time. And I had never, worked with her. I'd never actually bought in this area. And I had to really go into money neutrality because I just wanted to, run away and scream. And I had to break the structure on who I saw myself as a real estate investor, because before that, I'd been investing in real estate for 14 years, but it had always been in California and it had always been, under a different situation. And so I had to break the identity. And what I noticed is I kept noticing like things that would come up, like there would be something wrong at the house, which would be a really good reason to back out of it or whatever. But I just kept moving forward. I kept going through the circle. And I think having an understanding of sometimes we do need a loose guidance system that will push us through. It's kind of like, a light in a dark night. It kept me on track. And it also kept me out of my mind with regards to over personalizing things. That's one of the things that we do is it's like we get so into over analyzation that it literally causes us to stay on the sideline, and we justify it because it feels so personal. Like if we don't do this the right way, it means something about us. Or if we do it and it doesn't turn out like we think, then it means something about us. And so the reality is, if you want to use play and, let's say pull down the energy, utilize that with money, you can't actually play as the version of you are who you are today, who's just bringing in the rules and who always does it this way. Like the nature of play is sort of giving it to the wind, It's interesting because we'll sit down and watch a movie and we're totally open about, okay, whatever happens in this person's life, we're just curious, whatever, show me. But when it comes to our own life, we don't even give ourselves that grace. And so if you were to see right now, just, going back to this whole astrological opening, if you were to really see that you could utilize play and the energy of play, and you could transfer that into creativity, and then you could transfer that into money through investing, how different would you be? What would you do differently today if you really, if that became your way of being? Because what I would like for you, just to be honest, is I would like for investing just to be your complete story. I would like for, whatever money that comes in, for you to just, with ease. Like when I think about the new stocks that I just picked out today, there are some that are so good. And I'm like, cannot wait to own them, because I'm owning a piece of a business that's working for me, which means I do less. And I'm constantly moving towards do less, do less, do less, do less. And so that's what I want for you. And I know that sometimes it's like, I hear this a lot where people say, I don't know what to do next. Well, you do know what to do next. You're just afraid of what it means if you do something next, like if it doesn't turn out like you think it will, you know? Whatever you're doing with your money now, even if you just completely did a 180 and did something completely different, you would be surprised at how different you feel. There's a student inside the program who shared that, because I was talking to them about their edges, their money edge, and I was encouraging them to, over the weekend, to really look at their money edge and to go beyond it. And so what she did is she came back and posted in the group, and she said she had to go on a trip to California. And so typically when this would happen, she would just, go online and she would just get the cheapest ticket. So what she ended up doing is she ended up like seeing herself go, oh, I always buy the cheapest ticket. Even if it's like 2 stops or something, she'll still get it. So what she did was she ended up buying the cheapest ticket on the way to California. And then on the way back, she bought a first class ticket. And it was so brilliant the way that she did this. And she did this as a way to get to know and to express and live her new version. And it wasn't easy for her to pay for the first class ticket, right? But she said that when she went to California, it was absolutely miserable. Like, it was the 2 stops and the whole deal. And then on the way back, she said, dare I say, I actually enjoyed flying. And she said, I could not believe the people that I talked to while sitting in first class. She ended it with, because she's been in the Spiritual Investor for about 1.5 years, so she has a really good investing account. And she ended it with, oh, and by the way, the additional money that I've spent on the first class ticket is already back in my investing account. So if you look at it this way, what we're doing is we're positioning ourselves and we're setting ourselves up to play. And it's just you allowing yourself to see money in that way. And, if this kind of like gives you like anxiety or whatever, can you do it with a portion of your money? Can you say, okay, well, I'm going to take $1,000 and I'm just going to do something I've never done. And it's even better if you can do something that you never thought you would do. Because it's not what you're doing that's important. It's actually that new version of you that you're meeting on the other side. Like, that's what's changing everything. Because then you have actually expressed a new way of being, and you actually get the feedback from that. So, all right. So great to be here with you. I actually love this, and I love the new video as well. So, all right, I'll see you next week.